In the bustling city of Ibadan, Nigeria, where the sun blazed like molten gold and the nights were often draped in an unsettling silence due to constant power outages, John had built a reputation for himself. He was a freelancer, a man of his word, dependable as the sunrise, and relentless in his pursuit of excellence. No matter what life threw at him, he always delivered. But working in Nigeria came with its own battles.
The national power grid has collapsed once again, plunging Nigeria into widespread darkness.
And electricity was the greatest enemy. Some days the power held up for a few hours. On others, it disappeared for days. John had learned early that depending on the national grid was a fool's errand, so he had prepared for war. He strategically rented an apartment in a neighborhood with relatively stable power and invested in 2 generators, one small, one big. With these, he had managed to stay ahead of the game, juggling deadlines like a circus performer, never missing a beat. But on this fateful day, everything that could go wrong did. It was early morning, and the golden rays of the Ibadan sun barely kissed the rooftops when John's phone buzzed sharply, breaking the fragile silence. Half asleep, he reached for it. "Hello?" His voice was rough with sleep. On the other end, his high-paying client sounded tense. "John, I need that project delivered by tomorrow morning. No delays." John rubbed his eyes, forcing himself awake. "Yes, ma'am. You'll have it first thing in the morning." His voice was firm, assured. There was no room for doubt. He sat up, stretched his arms, and immediately got to work. But he knew better than to trust luck. Before diving in, he rushed out to refill his generator tanks, making sure he had enough fuel. His instinct told him today would be one of those days. By 2 p.m., John was in his groove. His fingers flew across the keyboard like a pianist lost in a melody, his thoughts sharp, his execution flawless. Then, darkness. The fan stopped whirring. His laptop screen dimmed. The power was gone. John barely blinked. This was Nigeria. He was ready. With a practiced motion, he strolled outside and started his big generator. Within minutes, the rhythmic hum of the machine filled the air, and he was back in business. Then his phone vibrated. A notification glowed on the screen. National grid collapse. John sighed deeply but didn't panic. He still had fuel, still had a generator. This was merely round 1. By 7 p.m., the weight of the day pressed down on him. He took a short break, grabbed a snack, and stretched his muscles. By 10 p.m., he was back at it, eyes locked on the screen, determination blazing in his veins. By midnight, he was already seeing the finish line. And then, his generator choked, sputtered, and died. Silence. John froze. His heart pounded. What? Rushing outside, he checked the fuel tank, still half full. He pressed the start button. Nothing. He yanked the pull cord. Once, twice, 10 times. Nothing. The big generator had betrayed him, but John was prepared. Without hesitation, he rolled out his small generator, filled it up, and gave the handle a firm tug. Snap! The handle broke clean off in his hands. John stared at the useless rope, his mind reeling. This wasn't happening. 2 generators, both dead, and his laptop's battery was draining fast. At 4 a.m., the laptop finally gave up, the screen fading to black. 70% of the project was done, but that last 30%? Now impossible. John sat in the darkness, his head in his hands, defeated. At sunrise, desperation forced him into action. He called a mechanic.
Olga, I will reach your place by 8 a.m.
John sighed. That was too late. He tried a friend, hoping to borrow a generator.
Bro, my generator's spoiled too.
Another dead end. He had one last hope. At 5:30 a.m., he called his neighbor. "Good morning, please. Do you have a generator I can borrow?" The response was quick, apologetic.
Ah, no, I don't use generator anymore.
John's heart sank. So that was it. Game over. The unexpected lifeline. Just when he had given up, his phone buzzed, his neighbor calling back. Hey, sorry for the interruption earlier. I don't have a generator, but I do have an inverter with 24-hour power. You're welcome to come over and finish your work here. For the first time in hours, John saw hope. Grabbing his laptop, he ran like a man chasing his future. Within minutes, he was seated in a brightly lit room, his laptop plugged in, the cool air from a working fan soothing his stress. By 8:45 a.m., he had finished the project. Submitted, delivered, paid. John leaned back, exhaling deeply, gratefully. Then realization hit him like a bolt of lightning. Why was he struggling with fuel and generators, pouring money into endless repairs when his neighbor had uninterrupted power? Who set this up for you? He asked, eyes wide. His neighbor smiled. Valuemine Power Solutions. They installed my solar inverter last month. 0 outages since. John didn't need to hear more. A new beginning. 2 weeks later, John stood outside his house, watching as Valuemine technicians installed his very own solar power system. No more generators, no more fuel, no more blackouts. By the next month, his work efficiency doubled. Clients raved about his speed. His income skyrocketed. One evening, he stood on his balcony, gazing at the solar panels glistening under the setting sun. For the first time in years, he felt truly free. A slow smile spread across his face. I'm so grateful I found out about Valuemine. The final message. A few weeks later, at a tech conference, John stood before a crowd, holding a large banner that read, "Let Valuemine help you go solar." His eyes shone with confidence. His message was clear. No Nigerian freelancer should ever struggle with power again.